and Mr. Barrett.
Minister Hajdu, a former auditor for the Indigenous Procurement Program has stated that your Liberal government was warned about specific cases of alleged fraud. He said the government hamstrung auditors and repeatedly ignored warnings that the program was being abused by non-Indigenous companies. Why did you ignore the auditor's warnings?
Well, first of all, I was deeply concerned to hear of this weekend. It was the first I heard of this allegation, and it took immediate action with the department, and I am calling for a full external audit of the program.
A full external audit. In the case that's been outlined in the remarks of the former auditor, we see that having the government check its own work is not actually oversight. Are you able to tell us at whose direction Indigenous Services Canada determined that the department would take on full responsibility for confirming the eligibility of Indigenous businesses for the program after 2021?
Well, what I can say is, first of all, I just want to thank you for the question, and it's clear by your question that we agree that a 5% procurement target is important and that we need to ensure that any program like this has integrity. So I appreciate the question. And I agree with you that if we don't have integrity of this program, that we're not actually going to be able to satisfy not just Canadians, but Indigenous people that a program like this is actually working to their goals. What I can say is that the company that was contracted by Indigenous Services Canada to do this work has made these allegations. They're very serious. As I said, I'm extremely concerned. I found out about these concerns this weekend and took immediate action to call for an external audit. The department is working now on what that will look like and will come back to me with a plan.
Minister, is it your belief today that the program has integrity?
It is my belief that there are many aspects of the program that are delivering for Indigenous companies. But look, even some misuse of the program puts the program at risk. And so for me, an allegation like that auditor has made is very serious. And I think we should all take it seriously and we should act on it.
Minister Duclos, were you aware of Randy Boissonnault's claims of Indigenous heritage that were echoed and promoted by the Liberal Party of Canada, both on their social media and in fundraising efforts? Were you aware that he had made those claims?
Comme vous, je suis l'actualité.
Like you, I read the news, I listen to my colleagues' remarks, and like you, or maybe less than you, because last week we heard MP Randy Boissonnault speak about that issue.
Fundraised off of what was a false claim. It was a lie that had been put forward. Now, if the lie was not Mr. Boissonnault, and Mr. Boissonnault claims it wasn't him who told the lie, in which case that would rest with the Liberal Party. They fundraised off it, and we've seen multiple instances now where they're trying to, the Liberal Party is trying to cover this up. Media has continued to report more and more revelations that what Mr. Boissonnault says and what is true are often very different things. Do you think that Canadians should be concerned that the Liberal Party of Canada fundraised off of what we now know to be a lie, where Mr. Boissonnault had claimed to have Indigenous heritage, and that he used that same, his company used that same false claim in an attempt to disenfranchise Indigenous-owned businesses and win contracts under that false pretense?
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Carr, point of order.
Yeah, just perhaps the record can show, I think we established quite clearly last meeting when Mr. Boissonnault was present that he did not claim
That's not a point of order.
Heritage, nor did he at any point. So perhaps my colleagues across the way, when making such insinuations, can be mindful of what the facts show.
Well, on that point of order, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Point of order, Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, as you well know, Mr. Carr's intervention is not a point of order. It does not reference any standing order. It's simply debate in an attempt to interrupt the proceedings. I was very respectful in my exchange and offering time to the ministers. What I'd ask is that Liberal members be as respectful, even if they're trying to cover for what is shameful behaviour by the Liberal member for Edmonton, Randy Boissonnault, and his lies and false claims.
Same point of order.
So thank you, Mr. Barrett. We're quickly getting into debate here, but Mr. Carr, do you have a point of order? That you're...
Just very quickly on the same point of order, Mr. Barrett, I believe, began referencing shameful behavior and other allegations, which I don't think are actually points of order. Just for reference, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Let's get back to asking the questions that we're all here to hear the testimony of the ministers. I'm going to turn the floor back over to Mr. Barrett. You have a little bit more than 2 minutes left. I'd stop the clock, and so I'll hand the floor back to you, Mr. Barrett.
Before your Liberal colleague attempted to interfere to cover up for the shameful behaviour and lies of Liberal MP Randy Boissonnault with respect to his claims to Indigenous heritage and attempting to defraud Indigenous-owned businesses of their ability to get government contracts, and the Liberal Party of Canada promoting that lie in an attempt to raise funds off that false claim. Minister, do you think that behaviour is appropriate and that Canadians should be concerned with the Liberal Party's actions in this case?
I'm not the chair of this committee, so I cannot determine whether MP Carr's intervention was a point of order. But what I know is that what he said was correct. No? The making false allegations, making all sorts of falsehoods sound true because they're all compiled together is not a fair treatment of the facts, and I would suggest again that you get back to what the MP Boissonnault said to you just last week, and you ask him those questions if you think they are relevant.
So what we know
important.
to be true, Minister, is that every time that Mr. Boissonnault came before a standing committee, that what he said was later proven to be not true, that he has demonstrated himself to be someone who is not truthful or honest. So we can't refer to Mr. Boissonnault's testimony as what is honest or right. What we know, the facts are, that the Liberal Party of Canada promoted what was a false claim about Randy Boissonnault's Indigenous heritage. This was my question to you. Your party, sir, the Liberal Party fundraised off of what we know to be not true. And Canadians are, of course, concerned about this. This type of dishonesty borders on corruption when Canadians don't know what the government has said, whether or not it's true or it's not true. Should Canadians be concerned with the actions of your party when we know that one of your former cabinet colleagues showed a pattern for dishonesty and lies, up to and including...
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I believe Mr. Barrett is an experienced...
Point of order, Mr. Carr.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Mr. Barrett's an experienced parliamentarian. He knows that he can't refer to a member's behavior as lying. In fact, my Conservative colleagues across the way did this on multiple occasions last meeting, and in fact, it was a Conservative chair that correctly ruled at that moment in time that that was unparliamentary language. He should apologize and withdraw that comment. Thank you.
That's not what I said.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. We are getting just to the end of the time. Mr. Barrett had asked a question. I'm going to give the minister an opportunity.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Carr?
Yeah. When a member is referred to by another member as a liar, whether that's in the chamber or at committee, it requires a withdrawal and an apology. So I think that as chair, you should be giving an indication of what you expect in terms of the way that members comport themselves around the table. I appreciate that we want to get to a further line of questioning, but when one member calls another a liar, not only does that in and of itself delay the proceedings, forcing someone like myself to raise a point of order, but further to that, it does require the chair to give an indication that there should be an apology and a withdrawal, at the very least a withdrawal of the commentary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. And I do want to remind members to ensure that you are using parliamentary language at all time. You'll know that in Standing Order 18, you're not to use disrespectful or offensive language. And I just want to remind members of this. We don't want to get into this kind of behavior in this committee. We want to be able to get the testimony that we're all seeking to do here and that the House indeed ordered us to do. So I would just want to remind members to do that and to not use disrespectful or offensive language in this committee. We are at the end of this time, but I want to give Minister Duclos an opportunity to respond.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vais juste répéter.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to repeat in French what I said in English a few minutes. Amalgamating various things that might seem true at a very high level, but that are collectively wrong is not a good way of proceeding. I would propose that the MP continues his discussion with the MP in question.